next, we have a talk from machine learning engineer at Schlumberger, Monisha Manoharan. Her talk is titled Mining and Refining Unstructured Data at Schlumberger. Sounds great. Really looking forward to it.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Welcome, everyone. My name is Monisha Manoharan. I work at Schlumberger, and I would like to take some time to talk about how we use Snorkel AI to mine and refine information from our unstructured data sources. But before we jump in, let me give you a brief introduction to Schlumberger. We are the leading provider of technology and services to the energy industry across the world in over 120 countries. The oil and gas industry comprises of three main sections: upstream, midstream, and downstream. We mainly operate in the upstream section, which covers all activities from the subsurface to the wellhead, with some activity in the midstream sector and some applications in the downstream market as well. We are probably less well known than some of the other players in the industry because our work does not include selling directly to consumers. Our customers include Chevron, BP, ExxonMobil, and so on. So, what do we do then? We design, develop, and deliver technology and services that change how work is done across the oil and gas life cycle. We specialize in reservoir characterization, drilling, production, and processing to offer the most comprehensive range of products and services in the industry. Together, we create amazing technology that unlocks access to energy for the benefit of all. Through Schlumberger New Energy, we also have ventures in the domains of hydrogen, lithium, carbon capture, geothermal power, and geoenergy for heating and cooling buildings. The future of oil and gas business is increasingly complex. To find oil and gas, we have to look in more challenging locations, and the reservoirs that contain these hydrocarbons themselves are also very complex. You may have heard of terms like deep water, unconventional gas, and heavy oil. Each one provides their own set of challenges to our customers. So, because oil and gas reservoirs are becoming more technically and logistically challenging, the industry and Schlumberger as a company are working very hard to improve the efficiency of these processes, to make sure we extract the most from each reservoir, but with the least environmental impact. It means we're constantly developing new technology and services that make this possible, as well as investing in new energy ventures, like mentioned before. Our activities can be broadly divided into these four areas: well construction, reservoir production, reservoir performance, and digital and integration. But for today, the one that's relevant to this talk is digital and integration. Digital capabilities such as cloud computing, big data, data analytics, IoT, artificial intelligence, and machine learning present our industry with the unique opportunity to transform the way we work. At Schlumberger, digital and integration, or like we like to call it DNI, combines our software, seismic, and digital ventures with our integration business lines. Now let's take a look at one of Schlumberger's technology centers. I work at the Schlumberger Software Technology Innovation Center, or as we call it, STIC, situated in Menlo Park on Sand Hill Road, right here in the Bay. STIC was established in 2014 to lead the oilfield digital transformation by taking advantage of technology trends driven by the companies here in the Valley. We are a relatively smaller group of people whose primary focus is to deliver technology proof points. That is, working code that leverages new technology applied to oil field challenges. We are closely connected with the rest of the software community in Schlumberger and help with accelerating the software development process. Here's a look at a broad categorization of the different expertise within our center, and these have definitely evolved since we started back in 2014. I personally work as a machine learning engineer in the AI and data science team. So, STIC is the designated tech center that helps define, execute, and prepare new projects and products in the future for Schlumberger. So, by definition, we work at various technology readiness levels. Our portfolio is a healthy balance of evaluating technology that delivers immediate value while looking at things a couple of years away to keep ourselves ahead in the game. STIC is also heavily involved in establishing credibility with our customers. Customers visit our center often to update themselves on what's next in the industry. One of the main ways we bring in new technology and ideas is through various partners, ranging from Google and NVIDIA to smaller startups. We always learn from them, irrespective of whether we get into a dedicated engagement. A large part of building these connections is aided by being on Sand Hill Road next to many of the venture capitalist firms, which brings us directly into introductions and insights into some of these folks. Additionally, we also work with a lot of universities and their research labs. And this is how we discovered Snorkel when it started as a research project in the Stanford AI lab. We had looked into their technology via their open source implementations and were very on board with the idea of utilizing the power of weak supervision for data labeling. And when we later discovered their platform offering, we were definitely excited to try it out and do some proof of concepts on our datasets, details of which I will share soon. Now I'd like to shift focus a little bit and look at a specific area that I work on, which is unstructured data. So this is any data that does not have a predefined schema. And when we have an abundant amount of data in an industry like ours, there's a lot of legacy and streaming data that contain rich information embedded in them. They can be in text format, images, audio, video files, and we work with all these different modalities to extract valuable insights for the business. In this talk, we'll stick to text documents such as seismic surveys, reports, well logs, operator comments, and so on. Processing unstructured data is inevitable in any industry and forms the foundation of data modeling and enabling our digital roadmap. It helps to break this down into two broad processes. The first one being dataset generation, which involves curating datasets from all the raw data sources and databases. It is an effort of its own and a distinction that's important to highlight because this happens to be the biggest bottleneck across industries. This is the part which involves consuming human knowledge and rectifying years of processes around data gathering to generate quality data sets. And only once when we have that can we identify the specific machine learning problem we're trying to solve and move on to working on building the model and generating the required insights. So the first box here clearly aligns with Snorkel's thought process of the data-centric approach, and we really do need to shift focus on the data. Now let's dig a bit deeper into some of the use cases we have worked along with the Snorkel team. So for the first use case that we worked with Snorkel, we were trying to build a named entity recognizer for oil field. We all have seen off-the-shelf NERs that work great on generic categories such as people's names, organization names, date time objects, and so on. But to build anything specific to a domain, one has to label and train their own models. Using a corpus of scientific papers, we worked with SMEs from different business segments to identify 18 such entities. You can see here on the left, we have a few of them listed. So well names, geological entities such as formations, folds, basins, operational and completion properties, and so on. We had previously worked on gathering labels for these entities with a dedicated effort using various labeling tools and borrowing from precious SMEs' time. But that took between 1 to 3 hours per document and was definitely not scalable. And off-the-shelf models are not customized to work on domain-specific data, so that wasn't a big help either. So when we looked at Snorkel and saw some great promises, we wanted to take advantage of the programmatic labeling and modeling approach. To simplify the task for the purposes of the proof of concept, we started with identifying just one out of the 18 entities, namely the geological formation names that occur in these documents. We created a binary classification task, and we were able to reach an 85 F1 score in under 3 days with writing some labeling functions with the help of our data scientists and SMEs. We were also able to later improve that score to 91.4, which is highly impressive compared to what we had before. We also saw more efficient and tighter collaboration between the data scientists and SMEs while using Snorkel as the labeling platform. And later on, as we worked with Snorkel, they introduced sequence tagging applications. And then we moved this particular use case onto that one because it was better suited for that, and also expanded it to include more than just the one entity. And we're continuing to work on improving these models and the labeling functions. In a different use case, we focused on extracting information from tabular structures in reports. So the energy industry generates numerous PDF format reports, such as the daily drilling report shown here. And automating the information extraction from these PDFs, given the structure of these different information's representations, is really vital in enabling large-scale analysis and getting a high accuracy and lasting insight into their performances. So the goal of this exercise was to retrieve the time of activity, that is a numerical data point, and the corresponding activity description, which is a textual information. And of course, trying to categorize every other text as other class. So as different companies generates reports with no standardized layout, we have about 15 different formats in the way the same information is represented. So we cannot fully extract the critical insights from them by just using some rule-based approaches, because they definitely are not robust enough. And if you were to do it manually using subject matter experts, it would again take about 2 hours per report, which is highly inefficient. So with Snorkel AI, which supports PDF information extraction for both digitized and scanned files, we built a state-of-the-art layout LM model, achieving an F1 score of 88 in 3 days and a 47% improved generalization over the previous rule-based approach. Thus, programmatic labeling allowed the optimization of SME's time, and tailored data viewers help with the tabular text and visual structure of the documents. So those were 2 use cases that we worked on as proof of concept with Snorkel, which definitely proved the value of their platform. And so what's next is we've been continuously working with the Snorkel team to kind of keep ourselves updated with all the new features they've been rolling out, especially in the realm of sequence tagging and information extraction. Internally within Schlumberger, we're also working on finding various use cases across business segments where we can apply the power of a tool like Snorkel. We also have many computer vision efforts, like I said before, with the images that we will focus on soon. And now that we've seen the value of Snorkel with text, we're excited to see what they can do with images as well. We're also thinking about deploying and integrating a platform like Snorkel that helps with labeling within our data ecosystem. But most importantly, I would like to highlight that working with Snorkel has been a great catalyst in pushing for the shift in mindset to a more data-centric approach from a model-centric one within Schlumberger. And with that, I would like to conclude my talk. We are here open to any questions or thoughts you may have. Thank you.
All right, Piyush, I think you're on mute.
What a great talk. And thanks to Manisha for helping put that together. I'm really pleased to have with me now the head of Technology Innovation Center at Schlumberger, Swaroop Kalasapur. Swaroop, thanks for joining me here.
Thanks, Piyush. Thanks for having me. It's a great avenue to learn more and also to share what we've been working on. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And Monisha kind of touched at the end of her presentation, the kind of shift to,
Yep.
the data centric AI. How's that been going for you? Any thoughts from you on that experience so far?
It is a journey, right? I think we're beginning to sort of see the benefits of going on that journey. So um, we we think it's the shift will accelerate our adoption overall, right? And it is a fairly traditional industry in a sense, and with that come a lot of the associated let's say challenges. But then this is the right time for us to do the shift from to data centric approaches. And I think the timing for us to collaborate with Snorkel is really instrumental in that, right? So we're excited about that. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we're very excited and humbled at the partnership as well. Would love to kind of field some if you'd be open to it, to field some questions from the chat here. Um,
Absolutely.
one of the first ones we got was, what are the challenges for operationalizing these models in production?
Yeah, that is a very timely and interesting question again, right? I think getting these models prepared is sort of one challenge, but then for us to scale it, for us to operate it in a meaningful way going forward is another challenge. And uh, so to be honest, so far we've been able to sort of demonstrate the viability, right? So we've been able to sort of show the value these approaches can generate, and then we do have some bespoke models that are in production. uh, but then the challenges do remain. I mean, the overall ML ops space, for example, the maturity of the space itself and the maturity of our adoption of the tools and techniques are still, let's say, in evolution, right? But having said that, we've come a long way from where we started a couple of years ago. So it's only going to get better, right? So the what where we are, where we are at today is that we've kind of figured out a repeatable way to get to these models, kind of crack the first nut, if you will, but then to scale them, to sort of manage them at scale over a period of time, is something that we're trying to, let's say, perfect, right? So we're somewhere in the middle of the journey, let's say. Is that
Yeah,
a
and
answer?
no, that's a great answer. And I think, I've had some conversations in the field as well, or with, people in this industry. And there's also a lot of regulations, right? With just the different,
Yep.
geos that you operate in, and some of those considerations as well. So it's
True.
never a boring day, I would imagine. Um,
Yeah.
so there's a few questions coming in now about just kind of your experience getting hands-on with the Snorkel Flow, platform,
Sure.
and kind of, looking at the technology there. So there's a few of them. Maybe you can touch on each of these elements. There were, one is, which I already know the answer to, right? Did you use an internal team to prepare like the implementation, or did you do it with like an external partner? I think, we saw that your team actually getting hands-on with the Snorkel Flow platform. And,
Absolutely.
so just to kind of round that out, there's questions about, how was it for you to get hands-on with the platform? How did you determine what the target, F1 or evaluation metric for a successful evaluation would look like? And
Yeah.
how did you reason about kind of quality when it came to like labeling functions, and also just the training data set and model you were developing at large? So I'm trying to, actually just bring three questions into one. But if you could speak to that experience about evaluating the platform, and getting
Yeah.
hands-on, and what that was like for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the getting our hands onto the platform part, that's something that we do on an ongoing basis, right? So all the different areas that you sort of saw in Monisha's slide, we do actively engage with the community, the technology community, to sort of understand what is available and then build with them, right? So the experience with Snorkel has been excellent in that aspect. I mean, the product itself is, now I can say very mature, right? I mean, even when we started, it was very straightforward to use, very intuitive. I think all that was already there, right? Again, going back to your earlier comment, the challenge we had was to really make sure that we can work with it because of the internal sort of limitations and let's say the governance policies that we have in terms of sharing data, that sort of thing, right? So but once all those were ironed out, I think it was fairly straightforward to get onto the platform and sort of start building, right? And as Monisha explained in her sort of talk, we did sort of go through at least the NER part. We did have a way to compare this because we did a manual exercise, right, a while ago, to bring together a few subject matter experts who manually sat and read through some of the content that we had and had labeled, a fair bit of the corpus that we brought to the platform later. And then, as you saw, I don't remember what the numbers were, but then, the manual effort that was involved, it blew away, right? In terms of what Snorkel as a platform, basically weak supervision, brings to us as possibilities. That's, no question, the value of that is really great for us, right? Now, in terms of how do we measure, or how do we ensure that the quality is good, etc., it's an iterative process, right? So we to begin with, we had that baseline model that was built manually, so that gave us something to compare with. But at the same time, the utility of the model itself is essentially to feed another answer product, if you will, right? And in that context, there is an iteration loop that comes in. Again, I'm not going to get into the detail of those products because they're still in evolution, right? So the point is having the tool set available for us to go iterate faster if we need to fix a particular labeling function to change things or add new things into the overall experiment. Having a platform like Snorkel accelerates that journey, right? And I think that is very powerful, right? What would have probably taken a week or months time to go through that iteration can happen in a matter of minutes now, literally, right? So I think that is quite powerful for us, right? And we hope this will sort of unlock more use cases as well. Maybe some of the use cases that we thought were not approachable, we can actually go and try now, right? So that's kind of the exciting part for us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so exciting to hear you kind of reflect on that. I recall some of those conversations that we had where we were looking at some of the kind of just manual annotation, right?
Yep.
Kind of how long it takes, and some of the resources that are required, and how it makes some use cases untenable. And I'm really happy and excited to hear from you about what you guys have been able to accomplish on Snorkel Flow so far, and will continue to do so. So that's great.
Yep.
We have a question around subject matter experts and data scientists, collaborating, and there's one way to answer this, which is just about the Snorkel Flow product and platform, but just more broadly, like feel free to take in any direction you want. How do you think about the collaboration between subject matter experts and data scientists evolving in the future?
I think it is very critical, right? Especially for industries like ours, where the majority of the domain knowledge is really strong in the subject matter experts, right? So they've sort of built and spent careers within the domain, which is fairly orthogonal to the modern, let's say, computer science driven industries, data science in particular. So this sort of let's say formation of a team that can combine both the science aspect and the domain aspect is very critical, right? I think, and we've consciously done that within our center. So we have a pool of subject matter experts on all the domains that Monisha sort of shown earlier. We have people that have sort of are experts within those domains that sit with the engineers to sort of, let's say, translate domain problems into technology possibilities, right? And that unlocks a lot, and vice versa. I mean, they also help us sort of, language technical possibilities in a domain relatable fashion. So on the cultural aspect, the bridge that they are between technology and the domain, it's very critical. I think it's a necessary ingredient for success, right? I think over time, what we've seen is that the adoption or sort of awareness of both the technical landscape and the language parlance changes within our stakeholder communities as well. So that helps, right? So, but it is very, very critical. Otherwise, these are two separate islands, right? So we don't understand being from the technology sort of side, you won't be able to relate to most of what the data is telling you. So they're very critical to do it, but at the same time, for them it's a challenge, right? Most of what the engineers are telling is fairly alien to them, if you will. So I think this is where the platform can help, right? It kind of brings them to the same page and allows them to sort of work together in an effective fashion. um, that's kind of exciting as well, right? And I'll plug a platform that we are working on as well. It's called OSDU, Open Subsurface Data Universe. The ambition is to bring together data from everywhere in the energy industry and liberate it for applications on top, right? So this is, Snorkel position within that platform can enable amazing things. So that's kind of what's driving us internally as well, right?
That's really exciting. And, we're excited to see how you guys continue to iterate not only on the Snorkel platform, but just kind of the broader ecosystem that all of you are developing. I think that's all the time we're going to have for questions today. So we really appreciate you coming on and having this Q&A with us. I don't think we got to everything. So, if you're open to it, is there a way for the audience to reach you or follow you online in some capacity? LinkedIn
Absolutely.
or something else?
Absolutely. My first name at slb.com is the email. On LinkedIn, please shoot me an email or a connection request. I'll try and answer whatever was not answered in the chat as well. But
That'd
it's
be
been
great.
great. It's great to see the community grow around data-centric AI, for sure. It'll help us tremendously to evolve as an industry and as a company. And the partnership with Snorkel has been excellent, right? So thanks Piyush, for moderating the Q&A here. This has
Thanks
been
so much, Swaroop, and thanks to Monisha for the talk as well.